Now in this climate, you're not worried so much about irrigation, but in our climates where we're more arid areas, we would suspend a drip tube along this bottom wire with a dripper above every rootstock. And that keeps it up out of the ground so that the earwigs and other insects aren't crawling in your drip head and clogging them up. It's able to drop down. You're able to see the water dripping down, sure, and you're still able to get around in the mow and do whatever maintenance you're doing around the bottom of these trees.
We usually have good rains here, and so I usually don't irrigate these trees, except that I do water young trees first 2 years till they get a good root system on them. After that, I don't water them any longer.
Now, speaking of which, once you graft a tree onto the rootstock using this method, how long do you usually wait until you start getting to your first apples with it?
These are dwarf trees. They won't get any taller than this. This is how high they get.
Okay.
Dwarf trees bear apples quite quickly. It's not unusual to have at least a few apples the second or third year after you plant them.
Wonderful. Sure beats. How long did you used to have to wait when you grafted onto a seedling rootstock?
I have a tree down there on seedling rootstock, and it was 8 years before I got my first apples.
Wow. That'd be tough for a pioneer who is first starting out, settling out here to plant apple trees and have to wait that long for your first apples to come. Would they interplant other crops between those trees while waiting for them to start bearing?
Sure they would. They would intercrop usually the first 10 years until the trees got quite large. They would try to grow crops that they wouldn't have to plow deeply because they'd tear up the apple tree roots. They would grow things like potatoes, small grains, vegetables. They wouldn't plant tobacco or cotton or corn because those require deep plowing.
Sure.
Now, we've previously mentioned that the second edition of Old Southern Apples is about to be released. This book was a joint venture between Lee and his partner, wife, and friend, Edith, who did all the typing and computer work and assisted in a great deal of the research. Lee and Edith graciously showed my wife Marty and I true Southern hospitality during our visit, and after lunch gave us a mini apple tasting of some varieties he had stored. We'll join in progress and give you a point-of-view shot of what it was like.
Old Alabama apple. Very, very conical. See it? Very unusual shape. I think they're all right, but let's just try it and see. We'll try this hunch first.
How do you tell if they're right?
Bite into one. You can't tell by black seeds because apple seeds get black before they get ripe. So if the seeds are white, it's probably unripe, but if they're black, they're not necessarily ripe.
Are some of them better when they're not ripe yet?
I said no.
Some of the early apples, if you let them get dead ripe, they're gone. So,
No.
this is
Is that Red Reese?
this is hunch.
Well, cut the skin off and let me have a bite.
Hunge?
Yeah.
Yep.
Gertrude Morris.
The skin, I think, is bitter. I think it's better without the skin.
That's good.
Let me try it without the skin.
What's the traditional use for this?
Eating and drying. Only ever found one tree, although it goes back into the 1700s. It was a pretty popular apple. One tree is all I've been able to
I
find.
think it's really good today, Lee.
Gertrude Morris single-handedly saved this apple from extinction. The late Gertrude Morris. She died some years ago. I got a note from her son telling me she did.
That's like some grape overtones.
Yeah, it does sound. It's great.
What apples were used for drying? Which ones are popular for drying?
The best apples for drying in the South are the ones that get ripe in midsummer.
Right when it's hot?
When the heat's high, yeah. Horse apples is the classic drying apple. Gets ripe in early August. Hunch gets ripe in the end of August. It's a good drying apple also.
Because if it wasn't hot, they'd rot before they
Yeah,
were.
they would, right. And we'll try Tom Jones. This is a man named Tamron Jones owns a orchard up in western North Carolina, a commercial orchard. And his father, Tom Jones, found this apple about 40 years ago and has been growing it ever since.
And then went on to an illustrious singing career?
Yeah, he says people drive a long way to get this apple.
That's a joke, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, right. Let's try it and see. A little bit past its prime, but Sorry. See the sooty blotch
Mm-hmm.
and see those little specks?
Yeah.
Fly speck.
So the sooty blotch is the big smudges, and the fly specker are the small ones. But they're not
The
from.
little dots.
But they're not from fly. It's a fungus.
No, it's a fungus, and it's strictly cosmetic. You can scrub that right off with a Brillo pad.
Okay.
Comes right off the skin of the apple. This apple is definitely past its prime, but it's still a pretty good apple. Try it.
I'll take the skin off.
No, I think the skin's all right on this
I
one.
don't want it. Here,
Yes, it
Thank you.
excuse my hands.
You have coddling moth here?
Have what?
Coddling moth?
I've never had it. I don't have scab either. Too hot for scab. Burns it out.
Plum curculio?
Oh, God,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Serious. Very serious.
It's like the unions where one pest quits, another one takes over for it. And
Yeah.
if you don't have a pest, one will be assigned to you.
That's true.
It's a way to build character.
This is red Reese, first fruited in about 1910 or 1911 in Alabama, and seems to be a pretty hardy apple. I never had much trouble with it. Joyce Neighbors, a nursery woman down in Alabama, found this apple.
None of these would hold up in a store. If you had to sell these commercially next to...
Yeah, no.
I show that to people. I'll pick a red Rome and a Rome Beauty and hold them side by side and say, which one do you think is a better apple? And they, invariably pick the red Rome. And I'll slice them up and give them a taste of both. And, oh, man, Rome Beauty just has a sweet, zippy tang to it. And this one's bland and tough. And I says, well, this is a sport of this one. And outsells this one 10-1. And
Yeah.
in fact, you can't even find Rome Beauty in the store, but red Rome you find all the time, and they're just as bad or worse than this one you're trying right now.
I recently saw a York in the store here in the supermarket, a whole bin of them, and they were labeled Mountaineer. Man, it's strange. Somebody figured Mountaineer might sell more apples than the name York, so they just renamed it. Well, there's a good crop of sooty blotch on that one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's excellent.
Try to sell that apple.
If you're a plant pathologist, you'd look at this and woohoo!
Yeah.
If Lee has a formal apple tasting, he scrubs them up.
Yeah, I scrub them up.
Because he does, we don't want to spray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not for sooty blotch. I don't spray for sooty blotch. This apple is soft. It's probably past its
It's
prime.
dead.
An idea of the flavor.
Clark's pearmain, did you say?
Clark. C.
Mm-hmm.
Clarkes, Clark's. Synonym, golden pearmain, and Jefferson grew an apple called golden pearmain.
Think it could have been the same thing?
I think it was. There's a European apple called golden pearmain, which they're growing now up at Monticello.